Hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. I'm scared to ask the question, could this election get any wilder? Because I think the answer is yes, but I don't want it to get any wilder. We have now had a second assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. We're learning more this morning about the guy who was making the attempt. And we'll be passing along more details because stuff is going to come in. The show starts now. It ends in 3 hours. There will be new stuff that comes out before the end of the show. So if you have to leave at some point, come back and check out the podcast, WBAP.com and the WBAP app. Now, for a little context here, we now have 50 days until the election. That's where we're at now as far as the roadmap for the election goes. We also have some overarching questions. Of course, it's some of this is the same questions that we just went through this in July. Did he act alone? Did he have any support? Did he have any material support? Was he in contact with our intelligence agencies? What's in their profile on him? What's in their file on him? What does all his social media say? What are all his other connections? What about any of these bank accounts? You know, you never found out what the overseas bank accounts were for the 20-year-old dude that tried to shoot Trump or did shoot Trump back in July. Are we going to get better answers for this? So this is all happening in real time. The event just happened yesterday, so we're in the first 24 hours. My first guest, Sergeant Betsy Brantner Smith, has been through this a lot as a career law enforcement officer and now spokesman for the National Police Association. Welcome back to the show, Betsy.
Thanks so much for having me. And James, every question you just asked about the suspect, we have yet to find out the answer with the first suspect. So we do know more about Ryan Ruth, the man yesterday who was shot at and perhaps tried to shoot at President Trump. But we know he has a long and violent criminal history. We know he's got quite a storied social media presence, but we don't know if he had help. We don't know how he was able to get a firearm, being a convicted felon. And there is so much else that we don't know, including how did he get within a few hundred yards of Donald Trump.
And the other thing that we learned just this morning, because we broke in and did the special report last night, since then we have learned that the DOJ is reporting that he was at the golf course 12 hours in advance. So this isn't some happenstance where he's like, well, I'm just walking by and I saw the president, so I went and grabbed my gun. This leads to I don't want to say conspiracy theory, just theory, that this guy had a little bit of planning involved. And this wasn't some surreptitious guy that just flew in from Miami or from Hawaii and, oh, there's the president. You know, this piece of evidence leads credence to there's planning involved.
Well, and we are told that this was not a regular golf game, that this was kind of an off-the-books happenstance kind of golf game. It's not that he did this every week. And so it makes you wonder about the communication between the Secret Service and whoever. There's a lot more questions than answers as usual. And I think it would behoove the Biden administration to have Alejandro Mayorkas make a prime time address to the nation and address some of these issues. You know, we saw the sheriff yesterday immediately within hours get before the media and get before the American public and tell us everything he could tell us about the traffic stop, about taking the guy into custody, what they found at the scene, all of that. That was a fantastic way to do things. But again, the federal government isn't real forthcoming when it comes to these details. And like you said, this is the second attempt in 60 days of a presidential candidate and former president. The American public deserves to know what the heck is going on.
Fox News said the FBI says that the car that Home Skillet was trying to get away in was a stolen vehicle. Now, what is this guy, a car thief now? Or was he provided a stolen car from, I don't know, let me just go out there, like a government law enforcement agency that has confiscated many stolen cars and would have access to such things? I mean, I'm not trying to go down the conspiracy theory hole, but this is where the facts are leading me.
Well, in this type of situation, this has long been the theory in law enforcement leadership that if you don't get before the public and before the media, then theories start popping up. So that's why it absolutely is essential from a leadership perspective that someone high up, and I would say Alejandro Mayorkas, because this is ultimately his organization, needs to come before the American people and let people know what is happening. I know they can't tell us everything, but they need to let us know, how did this happen yet again? Now, I've got to give big props to the Secret Service agent who did see the barrel of this rifle coming through that fence, and huge props to local law enforcement and that citizen who took a picture, provided it to local law enforcement. Local law enforcement was able to head down I-94 and take this guy into custody without any issues. So again, law enforcement does the right thing, especially local law enforcement, but federal leadership comes up lacking.
Well, yeah, and the Secret Service did a second-rate job compared to some random guy in Florida at tracking this dude down. And we're not talking about any state. We're talking about a Florida man did a better job tracking this guy down. Now, Betsy, did I hear on the morning show this morning that National Police Association does something for homeschool? They have like a homeschool project or affiliation?
We have an amazing homeschool program. You go right on our website, nationalpolice.org.
Tell me more about that.
All the great stuff we do. Well, we wanted to have a program for homeschool parents to combat some of this anti-police rhetoric. So we got together with the experts, and we wanted to make it constitutional. We wanted to make it pro-police, but we wanted to make it factual and palatable for kids, because, back in the day, police officers were one of those heroes that would come and talk to a classroom. And now so many parents are choosing homeschooling for good reasons. So we wanted to give homeschool parents a great resource so they could sit down with their kids, talk to them about what law enforcement officers do, how our job fits into the Constitution and into the American justice system. It's a great program, and it's fun and interesting.
That sounded interesting. Now I want to hear more. We'll have to have you on sometime just to talk about that and whatever else you got going on. Nationalpolice.org, is that your website?
Nationalpolice.org. Take a look at all the great stuff we do.
All right. Thank you very much. Sergeant Betsy Brantner Smith, National Police Association, on the James Show yet again. So here, the questions I posed to Betsy, I'm now posing to you. Number one, did this guy act alone? Did he have help? I know we don't know, but what do you think? We can do baseless speculation and hearsay on this show. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. What are the problems? What are the solutions? And also, does the media hold any culpability for incitement of these crazy people? Because if it happens more than once, it's a pattern, and we have to do something about that. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, it happened again. There was another attempted assassination on former President Trump. Now, this one wasn't as close as the last one. The guy didn't get any shots off. Trump's ears are still fine. He's in custody. We're learning more about him by the minute. But if you got any info to pass along, when we broke in last night with special coverage, your calls were a great addition. Because right now we need them more than ever because we don't have all the answers. We look at how few answers that we have from the shooting that happened July 13th, the first one that happened in Pennsylvania. We haven't even got to that point with this one yet. So let me hear your thoughts. Did this guy act alone? What's going on? Is there an inside guy in the protection detail around Trump? Because I think, 4 different people asked, how did he know where Trump was going to be? I don't have an answer for you on that, but that is a great question. And it's not just identifying the problems, like where did this where this guy come from? Is there some way we can prevent it from happening again? But we talked a lot about solutions too. What do you think needs to be implemented in order to prevent this or at least minimize this? 800-288-9227. One of the issues that we kept running into was that there's always going to be crazy people out there, and the incitement all seems to be going in one direction. There's no one that's squeezing off shots at the Democrat candidates. And almost every time a president has been shot or shot at, it's either been a completely crazy person that thinks, they're John Hinckley trying to get Jodie Foster's attention, something that's completely irrational, or they're getting shot at from the left. John Wilkes Booth was to the left of Abraham Lincoln. The guy who shot, wasn't it William McKinley? When you go look at all of them, even JFK was shot by a communist, the one Democrat in this whole list. What do we do about that? How culpable is the media? 800-288-9227. Because then once you admit that they're culpable for inciting these crazy people, next question, obviously, what do you do about it? So this is where we're at. 800-288-9227. Now, I told you not to make me look good and not to make WBAP look good and not even to make Dan Bongino look good. But I told you because it was a smart thing to say. It was very insightful, and it turned out to be true. Dan Bongino had to go up to Congress last month. There's a little hearing about the security failures around the shooting that happened July 13th in Pennsylvania. And this was a bold statement when Dan Bongino made it. And people made fun of him. He was talking about an article that was written by Dan Arkin, I believe it was. Some guy at NBC or something. Dan Arkin, I remember the name. But he got made fun of for saying this. Conspiracy theory, wild-eyed, sensational, hyperbole. Turned out to be true. This was just from a month ago, Dan Bongino in front of Congress.
You think this is the last incident, you're out of your mind. We have seen these incidents over and over. We saw the Georgia grenade incident with President Bush. They overtook the magnetometers. The Secret Service leadership in charge now with the exact same people. Exact same. Can you imagine a C-suite at a company that makes widgets? We find out that there's a design defect. The widget explodes and kills 10 people, and the CTO gets a promotion to CEO. You understand that's what happened here, correct? These are the same people.
Right. So the guy that is now running the Secret Service was the deputy director that was actually in charge of the detail when Trump got shot. He was the guy they all report to. So not only does Dan Bongino go out there and make a prediction and it becomes true, on the other side of the political spectrum, there were all kinds of predictions being made about right-wing death squads. Remember that right-wing death squads? Remember the bloodbath? Oh my goodness, there's going to be a bloodbath. You got to watch out because all of this hate speech and this rhetoric, he's going to incite violence by his supporters. Where'd the violence come from? Did it come from a guy in a MAGA hat? No, again, it comes from the left. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. So when one side makes predictions, the opposite happens. When people on this side make predictions, it keeps coming true. Who has the correct worldview and who needs to adjust their worldview? 800-288-9227. Coming up next, we'll talk to Zach Smith from the Heritage Foundation. He's got more info about the shooter who attempted to assassinate Trump yesterday. That's coming up on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Thank you very much for joining us as we're documenting history in real time. Something that you had never seen before in a presidential election cycle just happened for the second time, an attempted assassination of President Trump. So this happened now about 24 hours ago. We didn't know a whole lot about this dude yesterday, but we're learning more by the hour today. My next guest may have some new details and uncover the next clue in this great mystery. Welcome back, Zach Smith from Heritage Foundation. Let's talk about Ryan Ralph. What do we know about this guy so far, Zach?
Well, look, there's been a lot of conflicting reports coming out about him. It looks like he is a supporter of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. He's supportive of the war in Ukraine, has made some pretty radical statements to that effect. But look, I think we have to be deeply troubled by the fact that this is the second attempt on President Donald Trump's life. And while I appreciate the calls by Kamala Harris and others that violence has no place in our political system, it's easy to pay lip service to that during after a thwarted assassination attempt like this one that's just occurred. But if you look at the rhetoric that she and others have been using, saying that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy, that if he's elected once again, that our country as we know it will end, any elected official making those types of inflammatory statements should stop and take pause because we can clearly see what the consequences of those statements have been.
All right, so here's the big questions that we're all asking each other. What's the likelihood this dude acted alone, Zach?
Well, look, I think we need to let the investigation play out. I am encouraged by the fact that Governor Ron DeSantis in Florida has said that Florida is going to conduct its own independent investigation to see what this individual's motives are, what type of planning and preparation, and most troublingly, how he got so close once again to President Donald Trump. I think we've all seen the reports and the criticisms of the Secret Service and their lack of preparation in Butler, Pennsylvania. It seems like some of those same mistakes may have been repeated here again in Palm Beach, Florida. And so I think we need to continue to understand why the Secret Service is having such a tough time protecting one of the most high-profile politicians in recent memory, because that certainly should not be the case. And if any additional resources are needed, then that's something the Biden-Harris administration should make a top priority.
Yeah, but it's not like we have a shortage of resources. Our government's spending $6 trillion a year. We have like an $11 trillion defense budget. I'm not buying this. Well, jeepers, we just ran out of money. I'm going to have to check with the accountant and see if we can move some money around and we can protect this guy. I think the only real question, it's not a resources question, is this incompetence? Or is there some sort of, I don't want to say participation, but maybe like a willing level of recklessness?
Well, look, whenever I have, I used to work for the government. I used to work for the Justice Department as a federal prosecutor for several years. I learned quickly that oftentimes incompetence is the most likely explanation when things go wrong for the government. But certainly this isn't the first failure that the Secret Service has had. Keep in mind, several years ago, even during the Obama administration, there was a scandal where the Secret Service agents, when they were going overseas to protect the president, they were engaging in illegal activities. They were hiring
the Colombian hooker story. I remember that.
That's right. Yeah, that's absolutely right. And yet that disappeared from memory relatively quickly. And so I'm concerned there are larger institutional cultural problems. And don't forget as well, the interim director of the Secret Service, who gave absolutely disastrous interviews after the attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania on President Trump's life, she's been a big advocate of advancing DEI policies for the Secret Service. And so you would have to wonder if there's been too much of a focus on kind of making these political statements instead of doing the basic blocking and tackling of keeping people safe under their protection.
Of course, Zach. Dude, you're so right with that. I'm just surprised that we are still having safety concerns around our politicians, because we locked up all those scary people from January 6th, and we know they're the most dangerous people on planet Earth. I'm surprised there's any bad people left out there.
Well, look, I don't think there'll come as any surprise with the kind of unmitigated disaster the southern border has been in recent memory, and the fact that because of the Biden-Harris administration's policies, we don't really know who is coming across the southern border. If you listen to many of the people who are plugged in Washington, D.C. and around the states and law enforcement and the intelligence communities, they will tell you this is a very real national security issue. And look, I think, the FBI, intelligence communities, they have appropriately received criticism for many of their actions. But this is a very real concern, because if we don't know who's coming across our borders, then it shouldn't come as a surprise. Our enemies also know that we don't know who's coming across our borders, and will use that to their advantage to try to harm us.
All right, Zach, Heritage Foundation, thank you very much for your time on The James Show.
Of course. Thanks for having me on.
That's Zach Smith. Look, and I'm already working on the memes right now. I've got Photoshop open, and I'm sliding around some templates because I'm just getting ready for the upcoming story change where Randy Routh did not kill himself. 800-288-9227. I'm talking to you next. All those same questions. Did this guy act alone? How do we keep this from happening again? Is the media culpable? What's going on with the Secret Service? Are they just that bad, or are they letting this happen? 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. I'll be damned, it happened again. And there's been a second assassination attempt on former President Trump. What are we going to do about it? We got to identify the problems, then we got to come up with solutions to those problems, and we got to find out a way to implement it. And it's going to take a little bit more than just talk, but that's what we're going to do first, is talk. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. The other big issue that we were talking about last night when we broke in for special coverage, all of you who joined me, thank you. I'm honored you spent some of your weekend with me too. That was a special moment that we shared. But there was a lot of talk about the media and how this whole Hitler talk this whole bloodbath talk, the right-wing death squad talk, that has to stop. It should be treated just like saying the N-word. You're inciting violence at this point. And how do we hold those people accountable? I don't have all the answers. 800-288-9227. Cindy in Fort Worth, you're on WBAP. What do you think's going on?
Hi, yes, sir. I'm going to tell you what I need to see. I need to see Biden get on TV. He can break in anytime he wants. He's still the president. I need to see him announce that he's fired Mayorkas. Mayorkas is in charge of Homeland Security, but he's also in charge of Secret Service, both of which have been epic failures. It's not only that we haven't got answers from what happened in July, but now it's happened again. This is absolutely stunning how much failure is going on. I mean, I thank the agents that are there and the sheriffs and everybody that was there in Florida that took care of this, and anybody that's dedicated enough to go out there and stand in front of somebody and possibly take a bullet. But their leadership it's just, I can't even find words for it.
We would hold Mike McCarthy more accountable. We're about to fire this dude, and he just got thumped in one game this season. Why don't we have a similar level of accountability for the guy that's protecting the former president?
Exactly. And the nation. We're being taken over.
Well, here's what I thought you were going to say, Cindy, because several people said it last night, including myself. We need to see Joe Biden and Kamala Harris go out in front of the people and say, listen, he's not Hitler. He's not really a threat to our democracy. He's not really a dangerous, evil, racist person. The rhetoric has gotten out of hand, and we're just going to put a stop to it now.
That would be great. I didn't hear you last night, but yeah, I agree with that completely.
Yeah, well, you had the same thoughts. You would have fit right in with last night's special program, Cindy, so thank you very much for calling.
Thank you.
Right, and don't you agree to that? Where's some reticence? Where's some contrition for you guys out there? Jake Tapper, you don't feel bad about calling him Hitler? Well, Hitler used the term bloodbath. That's rhetoric of Hitler. I got Anna Navarro over here on The View. You know, the way he talks about poisoning the blood, he's just like the worst people in history.
MS-13 members are bad people. But again, this is in the context of Trump. This is in the context of a guy who's been using Hitler-like rhetoric.
She's on The View.
To talk about migrants, who calls them invaders, who says they are poisoning the blood.
Stop. See, crap like this is why crazy people are taking shots at him. This hyperbolic rhetoric, while it's useful and ginning up hate towards your guy and getting people to vote against him, even though they don't know who the heck they're voting for, they don't care. They're just voting against Trump. That has to stop. We have to start calling that out. Like when Don Imus got in trouble for his abrasive comments about the female college basketball players. How come he's held to more account? No one got shot, much less twice. Chris in Dallas, you're next up on the James Show. What do you think?
Hey, James, how you doing, man?
Been better.
Yeah, it sucks on Monday when the Cowboys lose, too, to make it all.
Oh, thanks for making it worse, Chris. All right, what do we do about this shooter guy?
Hey, I think that just like Lee Harvey Oswald, they're going to try to keep him from talking, and I think he needs to be under major protection so we can get to the bottom of the truth. Yeah,
so the frustrating part about Lee Harvey Oswald is he died almost immediately, and now we'll never get the answers from the first source. We always have to do secondhand sources. That's one of the things that you and I and the person listening to us was really disappointed about in July when that kid got taken out, because we have a whole bunch of questions that we're never going to be able to ask this guy. But this time it's different. What are we going to be able to get out of this dude?
Well, they should. You're going to have him committing suicide or something, and the world will probably never know.
All right, well, I'll start it. Mr. Routh did not kill himself. Just go ahead and start making the memes, the little Photoshop ninjas out there, and that's a great call. Chris in Dallas, if you want to be next, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. And really, look, what do we do about the media? They're clearly inciting these crazy people to take shots with their ridiculous rhetoric. I don't know how to stop it, though. You can tell me, 800-288-9227. Pentatonics, the Christmas tour, coming to the American Airlines Center December 22nd. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Or we're giving away some tickets. You can text the word SING to 800-288-9227 for your chance to win a pair of tickets. That's the word SING, 800-288-9227. This is News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Homeowners, I was just talking to you. Did you make the call? No, you put it off. Don't procrastinate. I always have a rule that if it takes less than 5 minutes to do it, you don't put it off. You just go ahead and do it right now. So go ahead and do it right now. Call Paradigm Roofs. Make your inspection. It doesn't cost you anything. It's a free 23-point roof inspection. Only takes about an hour of your time. Find any minor problems before they become major problems. This may be a big lifesaver, just monetarily speaking and domestically speaking. If there is any problems, they'll document it for you, show you some pictures, let you make the decision on whether to move forward. If you do need a new roof, we can help you out with that too. $500 off if you tell them you heard it on the James Show. So great financing options are also available if you're worried about that as well. So there's no reason to not call. Take good care of your house. Do the right thing. Be responsible. Schedule your 23-point roof inspection today. 972-542-7774. Go to ParadigmRoofs.com or 972-542-7774. Let's ask Kevin in Fort Worth. You're next up on WBAP. What do you think's going on, Kevin?
Yeah, I think it's too convenient for them to find the shooter so easily, and I think there's something to do with the person, the actual quote witness that's seen all that, took the license plate down, took the convenient picture, and then went there and said, "Yep, that's the guy."
All right, let's explore that. What do you think his bit is?
Can that be? I don't really know. Just my suspicion, my tail is tingling. It's just too easy, too convenient.
Like he's like the handler guy, like the CIA or FBI or whoever, NSA, whoever the spook behind the operation is. That's like the watch out guy.
Yeah, there's just something really fishy there. And then also, I'd like to add one more point. The previous caller that called in about the immigration and all that other stuff and how they should hate on Trump and whatever. The Democrats did this by opening those borders and allowing all those people to be here illegally. My very best point here is those people here are illegal. They're not legal. Trump has no blame in that. The Democrats do. And if he wants to clean up our country and make it legal again, there's nothing wrong with that.
All right, well, because you said that, Kevin, I'm going to keep an extra side eye on that witness who did get the license plate down. No one said that before yet, so that's a new angle, and I appreciate it. Good call, Kevin.
Yeah, too convenient.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to go to West Palm Beach right now, where the authorities, law enforcement, is having a live press conference. Can we just jump in on that? Okay.
We, meaning the gentlemen that are up here, which is the U.S. Attorney, FBI, Secret Service.
All right, pause it. I remember this
everything.
Guy. This is the guy that's the sheriff of Palm Beach County, just so you know. The other sheriff that I played earlier was from Martin County. That's where he actually got arrested. This is from where the shooting happened. Just wanted to clean that up.
That we have. We're going to give you the latest updates. They're going to tell you what's going on with the investigation, everything. And then we're going to do a limited amount of questions. So make them good, all right? Don't get into what if and all this. Get legitimate questions. We got it?
Oh, all right.
Okay,
well,
everybody ready?
Tell you what, we'll just go ahead and pause it there. We got to take a break anyway. We'll listen to some of this. If any of it is of interest to you, you'll hear it on the other side, and we'll continue the conversation as well, because just a lot of questions, and I like having theories like the last caller there. That was a good one. Guy in Fort Worth is suspicious of the dude who turned in the license plate and took the pictures. Maybe so. Maybe there's something there that hadn't been said yet. I appreciate your theories. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. More updates coming right up on the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Of course, the top story of the day is the second assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. And, that really threw my plans up in the air yesterday when I got the news. I had already planned for a good hour or so of the show being on this ridiculous interview that came out on Friday of Kamala Harris. And I had already pulled some audio, pulled out some little segments, wrote some notes on it, ready to go. I don't even know if I'm going to do it today. I mean, it's bad. It's hilarious audio, but this is history on top of history. How historic was it when the shooting happened in July? You had never seen this in your entire life. You had never seen someone shoot a presidential candidate in the middle of an election cycle like this. You had never seen. And look, for those of you who remember John Hinckley shooting Reagan, that wasn't even politically motivated. That was just some nutbag trying to get Jodie Foster's attention. In this one, though, it was a new precedent that you had never seen, and now it's happened twice. That's crazy town. That's out of control. We are 50 days until the election. I don't know if this guy's going to make it. 800-288-9227. The questions are, what caused this? Like, what's the source of this? Then, how do we address those problems? The core problems, not the symptoms of the problems, the core problems. I don't have all the answers. I'm asking you. 800-288-9227. Let's ask Catherine in Fort Worth. You're on WBAP. What do you think we should do, Catherine?
Well, James, I think, I don't know, I wasn't sure at first. It could have been real, and then I'm kind of like the last guy that called about, it was suspicious to me when the helpful bystander, got the license all of a sudden, just bam, wham, bam. And, we're all grateful, but was he part of the gig, part of the jig, or I don't know, that just seemed fishy. I'm with that other guy. And after seeing this guy, the wackadoodle that had the gun, after seeing him on the news in the back of that police van, he wants attention. He just wanted to smile and be noticed and he's after attention. I'm not sure that he was even going to shoot him. He had the chance. He had the chance to shoot him or try to shoot somebody. And he was a sitting duck. He was sitting there when the Secret Service shot at him. So I just kind of think I'm just saying, maybe he didn't intend to. Maybe he just wanted what he perceives. You can tell he thinks he's cute. He does.
Okay.
Now, he's a whack.
Now, I saw the same thing, but I had a little bit different interpretation. I think you're over the target. But I think once you're, and I don't even want to talk about how he's crazy. Like, he's not a psychopath that's trying to get Jodie Foster's attention because he's in love with her.
No.
This is a guy who's probably a little crazy compared to me and Catherine, but he's sentient enough that there was a hint of a smile. There was a little self-congratulations like, yeah, I'm the guy. Because if you think that you're actually taking out Hitler, you would be a hero. He thinks he's being a hero, and he thinks like, yeah, I'm going to be remembered. Like I might have to do some jail time, or be put in handcuffs and thrown in prison. But for what cause? For trying to take out Hitler? He feels righteous in his cause, and you could see it in his face. I totally agree with that part.
I do. And listen, this is my far-fetched one. Okay, what if he and what's his name over there? Vlod. I call him Vlod.
Vladimir Putin?
No, Volodymyr. The one on
the other
Ukraine.
one. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. What if, now he's for them. He's for Ukraine. What if they had put him up to it? I mean, he was over there.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that makes sense too, because if Trump gets in power, then the gravy train is turned off, and the $200 billion is a pretty good incentive to keep a Democrat in office. See, that's good thinking, Catherine. That's good thinking.
Because he said that he would stop it the first week or first 2 weeks or whatever. And that doesn't mean I'm going to give you money. It means you're going to stop, and the gravy train's stopping with it.
It does. It does. Okay, so now that you built on the previous caller's suspicion of the guy who took the license plate and picture, it would make sense there that if the guy did try and get away or was making a successful getaway, that the puppet masters that are overseeing this operation would want him to be caught, assuming that he would die in sort of a suicide by cop, or the cops would shoot him when they got to him, and you would eliminate that guy, and that would be a dead end for most investigations. Just the way Lee Harvey Oswald got killed after JFK stunted any pursuit of truth in that one, and the guy that died after Pennsylvania, the shooting in Butler, his death has prevented us from getting real answers. And so, if you're trying to assassinate a president and then get away with it, you would use a patsy and make sure he dies.
Exactly. And he's goofy looking enough to be I'm sorry if his relatives are listening, but he seems like a wackadoodle, and I think he's got it in him to do either or. He wants to be a hero. His son said, did you hear the deal that his son said? Oh, he's a wonderful dad.
Yeah, I read what his son said.
He's a hero. Yeah, he already said my dad's a hero, basically. So he wants to live out that dream, And that's all. That's all. I don't have any other theories.
No, that's right. Because, it's the Voltaire quote, once you can get people to believe absurdities, you can get them to commit atrocities. Once you can get the population or a chunk of the population to believe this guy's Hitler or Team Red is a bunch of Nazis, then convincing someone to commit violence against them isn't so hard of a task. You cannot talk any normal person, even this goofball, and I love the way Catherine describes him. He is goofy looking in that face. You can't tell him to just go punch a random person on the sidewalk. You'd be like, no, that's immoral. But what if that person's a Nazi? What if they have a swastika armband and you go punch him in the face? Well, then all of a sudden, not only is it not immoral, you're a hero. This is why we have to stop with the Trump rhetoric. And it's not, the Nazi rhetoric, the Hitler rhetoric. And it doesn't start with Trump, and it's not going to end with Trump. This crap where they throw around how you're a racist and you're a bigot and you're the following the lineage of the Klan and the Confederate States of America, and you're trying to put people back in chains. We got to stop putting up with that. We've got to start treating that like the N-word, because racism, being accused of being a racist is a terrible thing, because racism is a terrible thing. Racists are a terrible thing. They've committed the worst atrocities in our country's history. So why are we so lackadaisical? Why are we so accepting of being accused of such a heinous label? We have to stop that. I like what society did with the N-word. We just took it out of existence. And we all decided that that's a step too far. And if you're going to do that, then you're not welcome in public society. We need to start doing the same thing with Nazi, Hitler, racist, homophobe, all that stuff. And the problem is we just haven't put our foot down. We've been too nice. You have been too nice. I've actually been a pretty big butthead about it. Lost some friends. But you have been too nice. You need to stop being so nice. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking to another butthead too. Here, let's squeeze in a call. If you want to jump in, 800-288-9227. Terry in Fort Worth, you're on WBAP. What do you think, Terry?
Hey, I think that the liberals or the Democrats have made this, or President Trump made it very personal and caused a lot of hate toward him as a man, as opposed to any rational thought or consideration to who is best suited to run the country. So by perpetuating him as some racist, hateful, mean individual, and then their talk of violence, and yeah, they did perpetuate it. Who was it, Waters out in California, that said, get out in the street, get in their face, let them know they're not wanted here, cause a ruckus. They've created this scenario, and the result is violence, and not only violence in our city against people or individuals, but now the ultimate violence of trying to kill President Trump.
Yeah, and I don't know why it's so hard to make the association, because when you see a riot happening and people are throwing a brick through a window and looting a store, or when people are burning down a building, or when people are blocking a highway, it's never right-wingers. I mean, the civil behavior, disobedience, violence, property destruction is the exclusive domain of lefty protesters. That's what makes January 6th so weird. It's like, well, if this was a right-wing riot, it was the first right-wing riot in history. 800-288-9227. I'll continue taking your phone calls and answer a good question from Facebook coming up next on The James Show. 800-288-9227. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Welcome. This is The James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. We have paused the press conference with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, and now we're going to hit play on the part where they start answering questions from the media.
Question for you, Director. Is there any evidence to suggest that the suspect knew that Donald Trump would be on the golf course at that time? And was the golf course searched thoroughly before the former president's arrival?
So at this time, it was an off-the-record movement, meaning it was not on the former president's official schedule. And what I go back to is the layered approach. The elements and the methodologies of the Secret Service. There was a front element. It did its job in sweeping ahead of the president. That's what identified this individual who was in that wood line. And the swift action of that agent doing his job, pushing out ahead, sweeping while the president was behind him several hundred yards and several holes away, out of sight from the gunman, did his job. And that was what alerted the detail, and the swift action is what triggered that.
First question, was there any evidence to suggest that the suspect knew that Donald Trump was going to be on that golf course at that time?
Based on what I know now, and it's an active investigation, I don't have any information on that.
Terry Parker.
How many times did your agents go around the perimeter and scope out the golf course during the 12 hours that this guy was holed up in the shrubbery?
So this was an off-the-record movement. It wasn't a site that was on his scheduled. It wasn't part of his schedule. So there was no posting up of it because he wasn't supposed to have gone there in the first place.
Garrett
Haig.
Have you briefed former President Trump on your findings so far, and has his campaign asked for any changes in his security going forward after yesterday?
So,
over here.
Sorry. So I've had a conversation with the former president. We've explained and we've worked with the campaign. The president is aware that he has highest levels of protection that the Secret Service is providing him.
Reaction to what we saw yesterday?
We constantly evaluate based on threat. And yesterday, what we show is that our agents and our protective methodologies, and there's a lot of tactical assets in place, things that have been put in place as a result of what happened 60 days ago, those elements are working, and that demonstrates the redundancies that we have. And so we constantly evaluate. We'll of course, look at this and see what lessons learned from it. But as of right now, we are constantly evaluating that threat. And if we need to ratchet up additionally, we will. Yes, sir.
Do we know when Ralph arrived in Florida in general, when he arrived in Palm Beach, the area?
That's a question probably for the FBI.
If he's been at the golf course prior to this scoping it out.
We're in the process of collecting a lot of evidence, and that will be part of that investigation to determine his whereabouts going back quite some time.
Do you have any detail on where he might have gotten it?
That's part of the investigation as well. Again, that's going to be a little bit challenged until we're able to determine the serial number on that gun. So we're hopeful to be able to do that.
Mental illness?
We're still looking into that.
The sheriff mentioned about the highest level of protection, that they would lock down the golf course. Was that a miscommunication then, being that President Biden ordered the highest level of protection?
Do you want to take this, Sheriff? Or no? Go ahead. Okay. So here's the deal. When it comes to Secret Service protection, we provide the highest level. So, for example, yesterday, counter-assault team elements. I'm not going to go into the number of personnel that we have out there, but we have the highest levels from Secret Service. When we work with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, like, for example, yesterday, during that emergency action response, we had their local tactical team assets partner with our local tactical team assets. We had their helicopter up in the air, providing us 360 and situational awareness of the overhead for if there were any potential threats coming at us. So what we did yesterday was exercise our emergency plan based on the number of tactical assets and the highest level of protection that we are providing. The sheriff and I have talked. Now, clearly, when you go down Southern Boulevard right now and you try to get over to Palm Beach and you see the robust presence that's existing outside of Mar-a-Lago, the heavy uniform presence, the additional assets of the Secret Service. And for those of you that were here in 2017, when the president was in office, when you look at that footprint now and you look at it today, there's not much difference there. There is heavy uniform presence out there. And again, what I go back to is yesterday was an off-the-record movement. Off the record.
All right.
And the president.
We can go ahead and stop it here because there's a couple things that we just learned from this press conference. Number one, the questions were absolute garbage, and the media needs to. They haven't learned their lesson for 5 seconds. 4 of the questions in there were specifically to exonerate either Biden or implicate Trump or downplay the idea that this was even an assassination attempt. Like the first question you heard there, is there any evidence the gunman knew Trump would be at the golf course? And he kind of gave an answer that, to paraphrase, like, well, it is Trump's golf course. And although it was off the record, like, who else would he be trying to assassinate at Trump's golf course? Do you think he's taking pot shots at coyotes? What do you think? What other reason would he be there with a gun other than to kill Trump? Do you think one of the Secret Service detail is cheating on him with his wife or something? And then she followed up. Because the answer is, well, duh. Of course he knew Trump was going to be there, or was at least hoping Trump was going to be there. But she followed up. Yeah, but is there any evidence he knew Trump would be there? As he's just a happenstance guy. We don't even know if he's trying to kill the president. Of course he is. You don't poke an AK-47 barrel through the chain link fence of Trump's golf course when he's 3 holes down the fairway just for funsies, just to see what'll happen. What are you playing Pokemon Go and you took a wrong turn? And then they're following up with other questions. Well, yeah, but does this guy have a history of mental illness? Do we know if this guy is just mentally ill? Again, to exonerate him. No, this isn't some politically motivated lefty wacko trying to take out a presidential candidate. This is some guy who doesn't even know what's going on. He's just a mentally ill guy. He's like a John Hinckley guy. And then there was another question. Hey, is it true President Biden ordered a higher level of protection, but the Secret Service didn't follow through? What the heck kind of question is that? You're trying to exonerate Biden here? These people, if you do believe these are the people who are inciting the crazy people to take shots at Trump, they are not learning their lesson. It's only been 24 hours and they're already off their rocker trying to victim blame and victim shame and all the things that they claim to be against. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Your reaction to this story, that press conference, whatever, man. This is just getting stranger by the hour. 800-288-9227. Coming back, we're going to talk to Joe Cardinale, former NYPD lieutenant commander, and now current guy running for office in New York. And we'll ask a guy with law enforcement experience his take on this new information we learned today. It's the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Let's go. All right, a lot of updates have happened since you first heard about this story interrupting your weekend yesterday. It's been just a little over 24 hours, and the picture's becoming a little bit clearer, but you're still disappointed in how clear the picture has been from the first Trump shooting. I don't expect this one to go a whole lot better, but as we watch the investigation happen, it's good to talk to people who've done investigations before. Joe Cardinale's back on the James Show. Thank you very much for letting us cut into your weekend last night for that special report, Joe. I just want to start off with that.
Oh, anytime. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, I know we try and keep weekends for like personal time and family time, but here it is, history in the making, and we don't know a whole lot more than we knew last night. And the big question that I asked you yesterday that I'm still not sure if we have an answer for is, did this guy work alone?
Well, you know what? I honestly don't think we're ever going to get an answer to that, a straight answer to that. I see the press conferences going the same way as the first shooting, how the FBI, the acting director of the Secret Service, should I correct that? So I don't like the answers that are being given. That we have to understand that the boots on the ground are the ones that did it. All right, he got it done, he saw it, but the reports that this guy was camped out there for a while, that's super disturbing. And if you do know that this is a large area to contain, why wouldn't you bring in the resources, technological resources to come in and secure that fence line around there? Just, do something, fly drones, do something. But no, it's always after something happens. Now, I heard on one of the reports that a former FBI agent turned around and said that he thinks that Trump's got a leak on the inside of his current team. Once again, we don't know any of this. People are going to speculate. People are going to come up with all kinds of theories until they get what they feel is a bona fide or half bona fide truth.
All right. So what doesn't rub you the right way about the investigation thus far? Because there's a lot of stuff that I find suspicious, but I've never professionally conducted an investigation. You have.
Well, I just don't like the fact that after the first shooting, you would think there were protocols in place that would take care of things like this. Number one, what is it going to take, as my friend Pat Brosnan said, what is it going to take, a third attempt to get things straight? We don't have that kind of luxury to, wait for something else to happen. He needs the full complement that a sitting president would have. All right, he needs the complete resources. If I were Trump's team, I would get somebody like Dan Bongino in there, seriously, to, see what the protocols that are in place and let Dan say, no, we need this, this, and this, and control what's going on from an inside perspective, and then work in conjunction with the Secret Service. Because at this stage of the game, if we're not getting the straight answers, if we're not getting the results we need, you need to go into a different direction. And you need to do it immediately, because this president will not change his way of addressing the public, which is in person, up close and, personal with them, because that's the way he does it. We discussed that last night. And you brought up a great, subject last night with the hate rhetoric and the terminology that they use for this president. All right. And it's scary because you would think after last night it would ebb, it would go down a little bit, but no, they keep doubling down on the stupidity, even going as far as to, say, oh, you know what? We won't believe this. It's not, he wasn't shot at, so it's not an assassination attempt. It most certainly is. The fact is, if he didn't go stay on that hole, and if that agent did not fire that gun, which I think was spot on, whether he hit him or not, because the other team's going to react to shots fired faster than they're going to react to a radio transmission to try to clarify what's going on. He sent them into the protocol that was needed to get the president out of there, go into their drills, and take him out of the harm's way. Well, that was the perfect scenario to do, whether he hit him or not. He saw it, he acted, he did what he had to do. But it shouldn't be this. If it wasn't for somebody driving by and taking the plate number and getting photos of this, if it wasn't for that agent who was newly assigned to the team and saw that is just excellent work. And I still blame the higher-ups for not getting the job done to the degree it needs to be done.
Now, I've had two callers, Joe, say that they're suspicious. It seems almost too convenient that a guy would be right there when the dude ran to take a picture of the car and get the license plate. And it almost seems like the plan was have this guy take his shot and then let the cops go finish him off so there's no witness, there's no loose ends. And just like the assassination attempt at Butler ended up with a dead shooter, and like last time we had an assassination, Lee Harvey Oswald ended up dead in short order and kind of stymie any investigation. Are they right to be suspicious of that guy, Joe?
They're right to be suspicious of everything, and you know why? Because when you do not get the answers, I mean, how many years ago we're talking with President Kennedy, we still don't have the answers for that. They're still not disclosing anything, right? So when people are leery of the way the government handles things, of course they're going to come up with theories. As far as that person on the road, let me tell you something about the people down by Mar-a-Lago, the residents and the people all around that area down in Florida. They love President Trump. The majority of them love President Trump. He brought a lot of prosperity to that area. He, brought the area up, and they love the fact that he's down there. So people are vigilant of things. So you see a guy running from a location, running out. Your average person down in Florida is going to say something's wrong. That's Mar-a-Lago. Why is this guy running? And if you get your camera out and you start, shooting away with the camera and you start getting the pictures that you need, I don't see that as odd. I see that as just people doing what they have to do. See something, say something, do something. All right? So, they're right the listeners are right to be leery about these things as everybody else is, because Congress isn't even getting the straight answers from the higher echelon of the Secret Service or the FBI. They're not getting the answers that they want because they stonewalled them. Well, so when they become more transparent, then things will go a little smoother.
Well, we just listened to the press conference in the last hour from the Palm Beach Sheriff's Department, and based on the questions that the media was asking, they're not getting the hint. They're downplaying this. They're excusing this. They're blaming Trump. They're exonerating Biden with their questions. Is it true Biden ordered more security and the Secret Service let it slip? I mean, they're not tapping the brakes on any of this.
No, they're not, and that's why. Why is it the second attempt? And the same thing, I had about 5 phone calls to me, text messages, I should say, and one phone call saying, are you kidding me? Are we back to square one with this? This should never be. Let's just look at the 2 incidents. You're talking about somebody within range, very close range, that you could take an easy shot at somebody, all right, in 2 separate attempts, all right? And the first one, if you really dive into it, you're lucky that the Butler Police, Sheriff's Department, Police Department over there were taking action on their own from below to shoot up into him. And now you have this guy that the Secret Service agent did his advance to the next hole and sees this. You know what? Divine intervention could be coming into this as well, as everybody says that, President Trump's got an angel with him, and I hope he does, and I hope it's St. Michael. Because I'm telling you right now, if this continues, he's going to need all the archangels.
Yeah, he's going to need Saint Kevlar to keep this going. Thank you very much, Joe Cardinale, for being on the James Show again. I really appreciate your time, sir.
Anytime, my friend. You take care.
Good luck with your election, too. I hope that's going well.
Yeah, it is. Thank you very much.
Good. All right, coming up next, something I was going to spend a lot more time on today, if not for the second shooting here, or shooting attempt. Kamala Harris did another interview on Friday. It came out Friday afternoon, about the time you were getting off of work. It got buried over the weekend. It was just an excuse to say, see, she did an interview by herself. It was edited, it was short, and it was even dumber than the last one. Like the audio, you're not going to believe how bizarre the audio is. I'm about to play for you the next segment, because the question is going to become about Kamala Harris. This is what I was thinking after I heard the interview and edited it down. Is she a smart person who's just playing dumb? Or is she a dumb person who's playing smart? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Sound bites from her interview coming up next on The James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.